Hi, I'm John Alderton, one of the partners in our restructuring and insolvency team.
And I'm Prue Lumley, partner in our real estate team. Today we're discussing how brand owners and retailers can proactively manage their property portfolio costs in these very difficult times. Bricks and mortar are expensive, and for many, stores have become a burden on the business. To address this, we've been working with clients on ways to manage these costs. Firstly, monthly rent payments. It's amazing how many retailers still pay their rent quarterly, when many landlords will accept monthly. At heads of term stage for new stores, it's worth pushing for this. Even with existing leases, retailers should still consider engaging their landlords on this issue. It's dealt with by a simple side letter, and many landlords, although not delighted by the idea, will concede it. Secondly, break clauses. Clearly, retailers need to diarise and manage any break clauses, not only to ensure they don't miss key breaks, but also because if they want to stay, they can use the break as a trigger to try to renegotiate terms with their landlord. Thirdly, the advice of a good rating surveyor is critical. Business rates are incredibly high, so any savings generated from rating reviews and appeals are a bit of a no-brainer. Fourthly, on new leases or renewals, it is worth thinking about the sorts of rent deals to be entered into. Well-known high street retailers have been putting landlords under a lot of pressure to reduce rents on renewals. One retailer reportedly saved nearly 30% for 28 renewed leases in 2018. In addition, a lot of retailers are looking more at turnover rents to allow for the sharing of the pain and the gain. One fashion retailer, for example, has reportedly been looking for a 15 to 20% turnover rent, both on new stores and at renewal. Also, there is the advent of the so-called next clauses, which seek to require the landlord to reduce the rent if they agree to a reduced rent for another tenant in the same shopping centre under a CVA. The current retail landscape is tough, so now is the time for retailers to think smart and be proactive on retail portfolios. However, if these actions aren't enough, it may be necessary to consider a company voluntary arrangement. Isn't that right, John?
Yes, that's right, Prue. CVAs are an increasingly used tool in the retailer's armoury to try to manage real estate costs. Essentially, they're a court-ratified compromise of creditors' claims. CVAs are approved at shareholders and creditors meetings, with the creditors' vote being based on the value of the creditors' claims, 75% being the magic number for approval. Invariably in retail CVAs, the main creditors to be compromised are landlords, with other creditors such as trade suppliers and employees continuing to be paid on normal terms. CVAs are complex, legally drafted and technical documents, often running to over 100 pages. Retailers who intend to propose a CVA will normally engage insolvency professionals to work with them on the drafting. CVAs need to strike a fair balance between the interests of the retailer and its landlords. The ultimate test is whether the landlord will be better off in the CVA than they otherwise would be if the retailer went into administration or liquidation. Many retailers intending to propose a CVA will run a draft past the British Property Federation to obtain some objective feedback before the proposal is launched. Recent high-profile CVAs have included Debenhams, House of Fraser, the Arcadia Group and Monsoon. As retailers seek to push the boundaries of how far CVAs go, a number of these high-profile cases have produced court challenges from disaffected landlords. However, most of those have been settled without a formal court hearing. You've already covered some areas where retailers will seek to negotiate improved terms with landlords. However, if those negotiations aren't successful, then a CVA could be used to seek to impose those changes. Another way that retailers have sought to convince landlords to approve a CVA is through upside sharing agreements, again intended to allow landlords to share the gain but also suffer the pain of the performance of the retailer going forward. For example, the Debenhams CVA proposed a 25 million ring-fenced fund that was available to landlord creditors as part of the CVA if the business achieved certain growth targets. In the Arcadia CVA, landlords were offered a 20% stake in the company to try to persuade them to approve the CVA. As a final health warning, CVAs are not a panacea to all the retailers' ills. A number of retail CVAs have failed because simply reshaping the real estate portfolio doesn't necessarily address all the challenges ingrained in the retailer's business model.